Kash Patel. Obviously, I know who Kash Patel is. You watch this show on any kind of a regular basis, you're probably somebody who knows Kash Patel is. But let's assume maybe you don't. Came out over the weekend. Trump says, hey, Kash Patel is going to be my guy to lead the FBI. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but I'm glad it did. So here's a little snippet of who Kash Patel is.
The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big. And the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops.
That sounds wonderful to me. What does Steve and Garrett think about that? Joining me now, two FBI whistleblowers. And as I said, I don't have many people I look up to, but I so respect people who gave it all up to expose, to check us. Steve, Friend, Garret O'Boyle join me. What do they think? That's a little bit more important than what I think about it. Okay, Garrett, let's begin with you. Kash Patel, you like it? You hate it? What is it?
I love it, Jesse. Thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it. 2 years ago, when people first started hearing about Steve Friend and Garret O'Boyle, I wouldn't have guessed that it would have gotten to this point where Kash Patel, barring getting confirmed, will be the next FBI director. You couldn't make this stuff up in a fiction book. And if you put it in a fiction book, nobody would read it because it would be so unbelievable. But from my perspective, being now, let's see, into my 27th month of an indefinite suspension for making protected disclosures to Congress, I couldn't be happier about this selection.
Well, that says a lot to me. Steve, what say you?
I'm in whole agreement with Garrett on this one. Look, Kash Patel reached out independently to him and I through his charitable foundation when we were in our most dire situations, very much like you did for me, Jesse. That to me shows the measure of a man. He did not ask for any accolades or any recognition. So just the character quality that exudes, that fidelity, bravery, and integrity, the actual unofficial motto of the FBI. And then beyond that, he's uber qualified and competent. He has a background as not just a JSOC prosecutor and working on the House Select Committee on Intelligence, but he was actually a public defender as well, both at the local and the federal level. He brings that sort of experience, looking at both sides of it, the respect for the process, the respect for civil liberties, and he's just also represents a turning of the generation as well. Kash is a pretty young guy. I believe that he's going to be the best option if we're going to have any sorts of renovation of the FBI. And I'm still firmly in the camp that dissolution and shattering it to 1,000 pieces is ultimately what it would come down to. But if we have one chance, one silver lining here, I think Kash Patel is the man to get it done.
That's music to my ears. Garrett, let me ask you about what Steve just said. I'm obviously of the belief that you cannot reform it. You can't save it. Once an institution, especially a government one, gets this bad, it has to go away. But you've been inside the building. I've never been inside the building. I'm sure I probably will be next time a Democrat gets elected. But what say you? Can it be reformed? Can it be saved? Can someone like Kash go in there and turn it into what it's supposed to be, what you two signed up to do in there?
You know, Jesse, I've long believed that it couldn't be reformed, that it needed to be shattered and scattered into 1,000 pieces. And like that clip you played from Kash, turn the Hoover building into a museum of the deep state. Now, if there is any hope for it, it's going to take strong leadership from the top down. And there certainly are people in the FBI in those positions as we speak that want nothing to do with Kash Patel. And they want the FBI to be the modern day American Stasi. Hopefully Kash can turn it around, and hopefully there are enough people in the institution left who want to do the right thing. I struggle with that too, because look at Steve and I and a couple others who have come forward, and now suddenly we are hearing murmurings from inside the FBI that so many people are happy about this selection as we are. But where were they the last few years? If everybody who leaned into their cowardice for all these years, if they all would have stood up and said, hey, this agency is broken, it needs to be fixed, it would have already been fixed. So I have my reservations, and I know some of these deep state apparatchiks are going to try to thwart a directorship by Kash Patel, and many are already hard at work to do that. But at the same time, I've been already contacted by a number of my former colleagues who are excited about this selection. And so maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of hope for the FBI, but I'm not holding my breath quite yet.
Yeah, I'm not either. Hope is not a plan, as they say. And speaking of those deep state types, I hope nobody watching thinks they all have a D before their title, because there are plenty of R types there, like one Mike Rounds. Let's talk about the possibility of Patel getting confirmed, because I can't help but think about this South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds saying things like this.
Chris Wray, who the president nominated the first time around, and I think the president picked a very good man to be the director of the FBI when he did that in his first term. When we meet with him behind closed doors, I've had no objections to the way that he's handled himself. And so I don't have any complaints about the way that he's done his job right now.
Steve, I hear things like that and it disheartens me, brother, because I say to myself, these people are never going to allow any reformers through. It doesn't matter. Pick a name, call it Kash for now. They're not going to be able to get through. What say you?
Well, obviously, Mike Rounds approves of Christopher Wray's FBI as it went after Catholics who went to the Latin Mass, or moms who went to a school board meeting to express displeasure with critical race theory being taught to their children, or Christopher Wray's FBI, which reassigned me from investigating child pornography and told me that it was not a priority going forward and that I really needed to focus on the elderly women that were there on January 6th, or imprisoned concentration camp survivors who were praying outside of an abortion clinic. But, he's got really nice hair and he comes off really well. So we approve that. Mike Rounds from the blood red state of South Dakota. Just yet another one of the low T GOP examples, exhibit A right there of why we have a primary process that needs to get these guys out of office, because they just do not accept what time it is.
A primary process we have to start using a lot better than we currently do. Garrett, speaking of whistleblowers, it wasn't just people within the FBI who were going after guys like you and Steve. Democrat members of Congress made it their mission to come after you, didn't they?
They sure did, Jesse. And as the story of the suspendables continues to unfold, we learn a little bit. It seems every couple months we get a little bit more information. And yes, they continue to come after me and others. And maybe not that many people will remember, but shortly after Steve and I testified in May of 2023, some Democrats, Jerry Nadler and Stacey Plaskett, they referred me to the DOJ for criminal charges regarding perjury and obstruction. And fast forward to now, we're continuing to learn a little bit more information about that and how the FBI had a case open and they were subpoenaing X for information related to my X account, as well as Kyle Serafin's X account. And they even subpoenaed my wife's Apple ID and information related to that. So we're still working through all that and trying to figure out what comes next. And it's crazy that 2+ years of this, and we're still in the thick of this fight. And who knows, hopefully by January 21st, we'll see some real substantive change, not only from a selfish perspective for myself and for Steve, but for this nation as a whole as it relates to the FBI.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm selfish for you guys, too. I want some freaking scalps. Let's hope we actually get those. Garrett, Steve, appreciate you both. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.